say, every day is for the thief, one day for the owner of the house. But ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, has reversed the role. It is now every day for the owner of the house. If you're involved in bribery, over-invoicing, or any shady deal, the day of reckoning has come. ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is watching you. If you're reported for any corrupt practice, you'll be investigated, prosecuted, and punished. Corruption is harmful to our nation. Join the campaign against it by reporting any corrupt practice to ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
Let we join hands with ICPC, make them better.
Let's make Nigeria great again.
ICPC, they want to.
I want hand for corruption.
Break the chain of corruption now. Don't give, don't take. This message is brought to you by ICPC, the Anti-Corruption Commission.
According to Global Financial Integrity, a think tank group that advises developing country governments on effective policies in the international financial system, for every dollar that flows illicitly across borders, approximately 20% of it could have been realized as tax revenue on import or exports and related corporate income taxes for the government. Corruption, fraud in international trade, and tax evasions are as harmful as the diversion of money from public priorities. Corruption is a source of illicit financial flows and an enabler of money laundering. Our focus on today's edition is illicit financial flows and corruption. I am Hawa Garba, your anchor for today's edition. But first, let us join Ruth Awodi, who is standing by with happenings in the world of anti-corruption.
Welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Ruth Awodi. ICPC has secured the conviction of Mr. Zacchaeus Ate, a former commissioner for agriculture in Kogi State, North Central Nigeria. Mr. Ate was convicted on corruption charges by a Kogi State High Court sitting in Okene, Kogi State, and presided over by Honorable Justice J.J. Majebi. He was found guilty on 7 out of the 11 counts of the charge preferred against him by ICPC. The convict, who is to serve a total of 19 years jail term, was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, each on counts 1 and 3 without an option of fine, for collecting the sum of 11,937,000 naira and 8.8 million naira, being money meant for the raising and distribution of oil palm sprouted nut seedlings to cocoa farmers in Kogi State, but did not raise nor distribute same. He was also sentenced on count 2 to 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine for receiving the sum of 350,000 naira, being amount earmarked to defray the transportation costs of the farmers during the cocoa seedlings distribution exercise, but failed to do so. The former commissioner was further sentenced to 1 year imprisonment, each on counts 8 to 11, for spending from the sum of 2.8 million naira, being amount earmarked for the purchase of office equipment on what he called statewide sensitization tour, visit to Lagos from Lokoja on issues of power tiller and video coverage. While reading his judgment, the trial judge justified the conviction of the defendant by noting that ICPC's legal team had proved its case beyond reasonable doubt. In another development, no fewer than 150 staff of ICPC and the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation have undergone a comprehensive training program preparatory to the official kickoff of a system study and review exercise of revenue-generating agencies in Nigeria in order to curb government revenue losses and leakages. The training, which held at the Anti-Corruption Academy of Nigeria, Akan, Kefi, Nasarawa State, offered the participants the opportunity to brainstorm on the best ways possible to undertake system study and review of mega government revenue-generating agencies such as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Nigeria Customs Service, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigeria Ports Authority, amongst others. The planned system study and review exercise is a result of the partnership wrought between ICPC and the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. Declaring the training program open, ICPC Chairman Professor Bolaji Owasanye stressed the importance of the collaboration, saying that the comprehensive training was in furtherance of the agreement between the two agencies to block loopholes in the system.
Our collaboration will build on the successes and some of the modest achievements of ICPC and the experiences that the Auditor General has to bring on board to help us add value to our joint effort towards improving the situation in our country. We're focusing on revenue-generating agencies for very obvious reasons. We're doing so very early in the year, also for very obvious reasons. I'm sure that everybody knows that the government is planning the budget for 2020 to spend about 10 trillion. It's not as if that money is locked up in a bank somewhere, it's not. It is an expectation of receipts for the year 2020. Our experience shows us that trying to pursue money that has taken flight is much more expensive, much more emotionally and psychologically draining than preventing it from happening in the first place. All this considered, prevention is far much better than cure.
Professor Owasanye also enjoined the participants to be governed by a common ethical standard, pointing out that the agencies to be reviewed suffered a lot of revenue leakages. Speaking also during the opening ceremony of the training, the Auditor General of the Federation, Mr. Anthony Ayeni, emphasized the importance of the partnership, stating that Nigeria was already in the grip of corruption and needed a collective effort to free it.
We all know that Nigeria is living under the heavy weight of corruption. When you look at the root cause, corruption and mismanagement of Nigeria's common wealth is the reason why social difficulties have risen over the years. It is the root cause of the increase in unemployment, poorly equipped hospitals, schools with poor quality infrastructure. Look at our roads. And if you look at what's happening in insecurity in our system today, a direct result of this. So you see it happens, insurgency, and everything. These are all in one way or the other the effect of the mismanagement of our commonwealth. Our individual and collective resolve must foster attitudinal change at all levels and lead us to embrace values that will lead to greater accountability and transparency when dealing with public resources.
Also in his remarks, one of ICPC's board members, Honorable Abdullahi Meikano Seidu, expressed concern over a growth in the nation's revenue leakages from revenue-generating agencies.
The board, under the able leadership of Professor Bolaji Owasanye, Honorable Chairman ICPC, deemed it very important and gradually approved this 4-day capacity building workshop to allow best resource persons and capacity building professionals in revenue-generating policies and procedures the opportunity to broaden your knowledge on the basic principles and methodology required to conduct system study and review of ministries, departments, and agencies charged with the responsibility of generating revenue on behalf of government. The training is professionally planned to expose participants to the relevant acts that establish all the revenue generating entities, their categorizations, identification of revenue sources, evaluation of risks associated with revenue generation process flowchart. The training will also acquaint you with standard format and templates for reporting your operations.
The System Study and Review Report will enable the Auditor General of the Federation to carry out a comprehensive audit on areas of concern that are likely to be identified during the exercise. That would be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Hawa. Stay with us.
That was a very good business.
Yeah.
The furniture you brought was very perfect.
That's how we roll.
Let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much of it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no, I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
Hey, that can give me back my check. Let me go and look for vendor that business.
Take.
Your loss.
But it is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get out.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
you will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people, make we only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no. Not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. This is Corruption Must Go. We are still on the topic of illicit financial flows of funds across international borders. It has become a major obstacle to development in Africa. Professor Nisan Basharati, Director, Deloitte Development Africa, tells us more on this.
The Thabo Mbeki report, the so-called 2015 report of the African Union and UNECA, explained that there's 3 types of illicit financial flows. There is ones that are generated through corruption and bribery and corrupt activities, where politicians then transfer these proceeds to their bank accounts in other countries. There is money laundering that happens of funds of criminal activities from drug trafficking, arms smuggling, human trafficking, and so forth, so organized crime related. And the third, which is the biggest amount, is related to commercial tax avoidance. So profit shifting by multinational corporations, trade misinvoicing at the borders, at customs, declaring falsely the value of, these are some of the many ways illicit financial flows happen. Certainly, it is in the interest of all countries to reduce these flows, because this is a loss of public revenue that could be used for public services. So to reduce it is obviously to put in place measures to reduce or discourage corruption, to discourage and reduce and catch criminal activities and financial transfers related to these criminal activities, and also put into place the frameworks to allow both big and small companies and traders to not conduct fraudulent activities or try to avoid paying their due share of taxes and customs that is important revenue for the governments to run their public services. So these are all things that different governments can do to prevent and reduce illicit financial flows.
Thank you very much. Illicit financial flows have particularly become an increasing source of concern for Nigeria. Chairman ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, and the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters, who also chairs the Interagency Committee on Illicit Financial Flows, Dr. Adeyemi Dekpeolu, speaks further.
Important assignment. Members will recall that we already have our interagency committee looking at how to combat IFFs in Nigeria. Those who are new, the background is that first of all, ministers of finance have established the working panel to look at illicit financial flows from Africa, and the panel issued a report which was adopted by the African Union heads of state and government. And that report not only tried to estimate the volume of illicit financial flows from Africa, it was put at about $50 billion as far back as 2011. And one of the findings was that the amount was not only large, but was increasing. But one of the other things that report did was to identify the modalities by which illicit financial flows are taking place from Africa. Basically the criminal, the commercial, and the corrupt practices. And taking those that into consideration, President Meki himself and some members of his party visited Nigeria 1.5 years ago, just to see what we can do about implementing the. And in listening to participants at that meeting, many CEOs from the agencies were there, we found that Nigeria had done a lot, but it wasn't in a coordinated, coherent way. So as they listened to different actors, they were impressed. Then when they needed something concrete, they couldn't lay their hands on it. So government decided to establish this our interagency committee. So we have a place where we can share that information, where we can update one another on what is going on, in order to be able to give a more comprehensive view of the fight against this financial flows in Nigeria.
A report recently released by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NAITI, and Trust Africa indicates that Nigeria loses between $15 billion and $18 billion yearly to illicit financial flows, and over 92% of the crime is reportedly committed in the oil and gas sector. What is the effect of this disclosure on the economy and the Nigerian people?
Nigeria is an integral part of Africa. Don't even forget that Nigeria is taken as the giant of Africa. We are the economic hub of Africa. And the base, when you compare our land mass, when you compare our population, when you compare the level of economic activities. So once these funds effectively move out of Africa, it depletes the money supply in the system. And when your money supply in the system is reduced, opportunity for investment is reduced. You have to start relying absolutely on foreign investment, either foreign direct investment or foreign direct investment, which come with a lot of conditionalities. And most often times, these conditionalities are what weaken your own economy base. But if you can retain this outflow, this money flowing out, if you can retain it within your system and invest in your system, you generate so much economic activity, and the multiplier effect is wealth creation. So the unemployment you are now crying of will reduce. The lack of good or lack of infrastructure that we are crying of will reduce. Because the investment will be here, the money keep revolving and rotating within the system, and our wealth base keeps enlarging. So we don't have wealth depletion. But once this move out, there is wealth depletion. And what's the consequence? We borrow. And what's the consequence? We can't finance our debt. And what's the consequence? We spend more on debt financing than on capital projects. And what's the consequence? There's deprivation. And what's the consequence? You and I and our generation lives in poverty. So they allow we curb it today, so that the generation to come can live in wealth. Like
my business has been going down. I need your help.
Bawahala. I will show you the formula. I use some bad chemical which I mix, so produce the drugs which gives me up to 4 times profit. Imagine, pa.
So you are one of the people that is killing millions and millions of Nigerians in this country. That was it not you last 2 months that was complaining about the fuel scarcity in this country, that the government is corrupt?
Have I killed anybody in your family?
You don't have to kill any of my family members directly. Every Nigerian you kill is my family. Selling of fake drugs, expired drugs, putting drugs in wrong packet, all that are acts of corruption. This is corruption, not in my country. Fear here.
Me? Fake drug? Now corruption? Allah kia.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
That Nigeria loses a massive volume of its wealth to corruption, tax evasion, and money laundering through illicit financial flows. A great proportion of the outflows could have been used to finance education, infrastructure, healthcare, and other vital components of sustainable development. According to the Thabo Mbeki panel report, if Nigeria is desirous of an accelerated and sustained development, relying as much as possible on her resources, then a lot needs to be done to reduce illicit flows. That's our package on this week's edition. Remember, you can make inquiries and suggestions via our toll-free numbers as shown on the screen. You can also watch the program on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. See you again next week. Bye for now.